Hello, and welcome. OP characters, easily the most beloved and recognizable characters in their series, when done right. I remember back in the days in high school when all the fellow boys would get into full-on gang warfare over Superman vs. Goku. But nowadays, there are so many series with overpowered characters, and I bet those two weren't even the first ones you thought of. With so many OP guys and gals, it's easy to get lost in the sauce of what makes a very few stand out and continue to captivate us throughout their series runs. In other words, what makes the best, which is why you should join me as I continue my journey to discover the perfect overpowered character. Now, I would like to admit that I don't have an English or literature degree, so I might get basic storytelling elements incorrect here. The point is, I wanted to make a video that focuses on what Gojo Satoru from Jujutsu Kaisen, Ren Yamashiro from Chained Soldier, and Levi from Attack on Titan do right, and how they're incredibly captivating. In more ways than one. So there's no doubt that I'm going to be getting some basic steps of writing probably done wrong here, but I don't mind because I watch too much anime and want to feel like I've learned something at this point. Also, I would like to point out that I am anime only when it comes to Jujutsu Kaisen, so I am fully prepared for anything that I say about Gojo to come around and bite me in the future. Not pointing to anything in particular because I don't know the details, but all I'm saying is that go ahead and get your nah-eyed wins out of the way now, because I'll talk about just what's been shown in the anime so far. Also, there will be major spoilers for Attack on Titan as well as the Chained Soldier manga here. And to make this video flow better, I've broken up what I believe to be the perfect way to develop OP characters into several different parts, starting with... Here is where the OP characters are more of a legend. People have heard the stories, probably not the MC, but they're going to hear them. What makes them so remarkable and what draws other people to view them so differently and above everyone else? I think a great example of this is Levi in Attack on Titan. We're first introduced to him early on, standing by his comrades, ready to go on another expedition, and all we're told is that he's pretty much a one-man army. He doesn't even seem to care for the gossip too. As for Gojo, episode 1 begins rather simply with our presumed MC standing face to face with an eyeless menace, and all he tells him is that he's sentenced to execution, never breaking from that devious smile. Ren Yamashiro isn't even in the first season of Chained Soldier, save for an anime original brief moment in the very beginning where she meets the leaders of the world as if they were expecting her. All you know about her is that she's a commander of the Mato Anti-Demon Corps, and as we see how powerful other members could be, such as Tenka, if Ren is the commander, she must be so much stronger than everyone else shown. This is the briefest step in the process, however it's still extremely crucial as having a small but noticeable introduction, perhaps even non-verbally, sets the stage that what we're about to see will demonstrate the full strength achievable in this series. Now that these overpowered characters have been properly set up, we need to see them in action. Simply telling us isn't going to be enough. You can tell me that Papa Smurf can solo multiverses, but I won't believe it because he lives a rather simple life. No, action speaks louder than words. My name isn't words first after all. Jujutsu Kaisen, Episode 2, Gojo demonstrates how he tenderizes his steak. Episode 7, we see what he can actually do as he casually threatens to throw Joe Goat into a black hole. And even more incredibly shows off his beautiful eyes. Attack on Titan, during the middle of the Trost arc, Levi is shown taking out a few Titans completely on his own. Keep in mind that the past few episodes have brutally depicted how hopeless fighting Titans are as they sweep the floor with the cadets. We went from seeing them as terrifying man-eaters to being nothing more than a nuisance for Levi. And later on in Season 1, we see what he's actually able to do against the Titan Shifters we'll be getting to see more of later down the line, as he and Mikasa team up, but more like himself takes down and incapacitates the very same Titan who just wiped out his entire squad. But personally, with the three I've chosen in this video, I think my favorite demonstration is for Ren Yamashiro. There's been so much build up to her at this point, and Kyoka even tells Yuki not to make eye contact with her. You know that she has such an imposing presence on the entirety of Mato itself, and she exudes such confidence as if to say, yeah, I know I'm the best. You don't even have to say anything. Suddenly, a rogue group of invaders show up with an army of Shuki ready to take out the Mato Anti-Demon Corps, and Ren goes to intercept that group on her own. None of them stood a chance, and the one who presented perhaps the greatest threat is sent to the bottom of the ocean, killing her immediately. This fight is only half of the chapter, yet it tells you everything you need to know about Ren, and also about Kyoka too, the main female character. Her goal is to become the commander, and yet clearly the current commander can likely solo the entire cast. How is she or anyone else supposed to compare? Now comes a part of the story where for some reason these OP characters need to be taken out of it, at least for some time. I've called it the nerf, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be weakened permanently. The story just needs the main characters themselves to grow and solve their own problems. Gojo is a perfect example of this. When the Shibuya arc begins, we already know Gojo can probably handle the entire arc on his own, which the main cast of villains realize too, so they don't focus on trying to kill him since that doesn't go well, and instead seal him away, locking him out of the rest of Season 2. Levi, whoo boy, he gets several of these throughout the series. In Season 1, he sprains his ankle, which effectively takes him out of the rest of Season 1 and 2, save for one scene. And then in Season 4, he kind of nursed himself. Sure, he's able to come back in the end, but think about how much smoother every arc and fight would have gone for Eren or against Eren if Levi was at 100% fighting strength. And then there's Ren herself. To date in the story, she hasn't gotten a full-on nerf like Gojo and Levi, so if you really wanted a true third example, then I guess All Might relaxing in his bubble bath in My Hero Season 3 during his first arc works here too. But for those who aren't familiar with Chain Soldier, Yuki, the MC, doesn't have any powers. Only women can reap the benefits of the peaches and gain abilities from them. Instead, he utilizes Kyoka's slave ability and can unlock new forms when other members of the Mato Anti-Demon Corps ride him into combat. A large part of the appeal of the series is the various different forms Yuki can shift into, and how they're able to enhance the power of the rider. However, by doing so, the rider must pay the toll.
You gotta pay the troll toll if you want to get into that boy's hole.
And there's the other appeal to the series. Now, Ren, she's been praised her entire life for being a genius, a warrior, and unparalleled in everything she's done. So she thought she could nod win all over the requirement for slave lending, only to be humbled for the first time in her whole life. You'd think she learned that she isn't more powerful than the laws of the world she rules by the second time. Nah. So now that we've properly set up each of our overpowered characters and allowed the rest of the cast to move forward with their own development, what comes next? Why, none other than those OP characters going all out. Unlike normal MCs who need to go through training and plenty of development to get to a higher level, here is where we see the highest level attained. Gojo, Levi, and Ren don't need to go through a training arc because their strength is already the apex of what is possible in their series. They're what everyone else is trying to reach. Levi has a number of moments like this, including in the final battle of Attack on Titan. However, I think my favorite example of Levi operating at his full capabilities is against Kenny's squad the first time. Yeah, I know it's easy to say any of his fights against Zeke, which are incredible, but this is still my favorite Levi fight in the series because he is surrounded on every possible side at every angle, working on an even level with his opponents and manages to take them out one by one. Kenny's squad are exceptionally skilled in ODM and have the anti-personnel gear. They're not, however, skilled in taking out Levi, something only Kenny is capable of doing, which doesn't end up happening as they manage to get away. Gojo. Now, where do I even begin? There's of course the first time we see him use Hollow Purple, his domain expansion which I mentioned earlier, or him pretty much just playing with his food here. But I think the best example comes from the prequel arc where he uses Hollow Purple for the first time. We don't even need to see him use the attack, we already know what it looks like, and him using it here tells us so much about him, that he isn't above killing people, and that he is simply on such another level compared to everyone else. He's essentially a god. And then there's Ren, and we've seen a lot of what she's capable of. Yuki's transformation with her is able to wipe out an entire army of Shuki in one attack, and after seeing how powerful that was, and when he almost used it on her, she was able to take him out with no hesitation. When there's a massive battle going on in Yokohama, but she's too busy meeting with the President of the United States, she'll just kick a Kamehameha all the way across the world to strike. Chain Soldier still has a long way to go, and so we haven't seen the Culmination reach its apex yet for Ren, which is partly due to the fact that nobody else knows what she's fully capable of. In a more recent chapter, another character mentions that she defeated a Russian mafia leader in a fight so one-sided that we don't even need to see it. We know Ren and we know how powerful she is, that nobody else can compare. But what this all amounts to is... Alright, hear me out on this, but do we even need overpowered characters? I've talked about how they could be set up, but what's the point? Narratively, you can just say a bolt of lightning appears and boom, fight over. Pack up your bags, we're going home. Maybe this happened because Zeus himself got real pissed about something again. Man, I've always hated that guy. What matters here though is that the most important part of an overpowered character is that second word, the character. Gojo Satoru, Levi Ackerman, Ren Yamashiro. We know their names and what they're capable of because we know them. Gojo may have the power of a god, seemingly unstoppable, but he's a fun, goofy guy that probably watches a lot of movies. Levi can take down any titan probably with his eyes closed, but he's a clean freak and jealous of how tall everyone gets. Poor guy. Ren is not only a commander known as Earth's Answer by the President of the United States herself, she's also a young woman who loves her pet dogs and enjoys watching cute animal videos with some of the others in the Mato Anti-Demon Corps. I bring all this up because this is all another part of these characters. They're not unstoppable death machines. I mean, they might be. But they're people with their own motivations, goals, and interests. And outside of anime too, when we think of Aang from Avatar, we don't just think about how strong he is, we also think about his love of animals, his fun-loving nature, how he seeks to make the most out of life. It's not just the overpowered characters that we get attached to. People can debate about why they didn't let the Eagles take the ring to Mordor, but the real reason is because that would have been a boring story. So instead, we got a multi-part epic about how it took everyone's efforts together to take down Sauron and how Frodo went from an unassuming hobbit to a hero. We love stories like that, having another person be not only the benchmark for strength in a series, but a goal for the main character to reach towards and eventually surpass. However, there's one thing that all these characters have in common, and that is they're not the main character of their series. So allow me to throw out everything I've talked about so far as I talk about my favorite overpowered main character. None other than Shigeo Kageyama, also known as Mob from Mob Psycho 100. We don't need the entire build-up process to Mob himself. From the very beginning of episode 1, we see Mob at perhaps his fullest potential, and he never gets nerfed in the entire series. From the beginning to the very end, every fight is him as a Mob we've grown to know and love. Because Mob Psycho 100 isn't a battle shonen, it's a slice of life disguised as a battle shonen. What would normally be the selling point of every other shonen is largely ignored by Mob. Whether he knows how strong he is or not isn't exactly the point. His goals aren't to battle some awe-inspiring god-level threat, he's a middle schooler with middle schooler interests. He just wants to know how to have friends and talk to girls, meanwhile everyone around him wants to fight and cause all sorts of trouble. Mob's growth isn't for his psychic powers, he's already the best in the world, probably ever, but him joining the Body Improvement Club was perhaps the best first step he could have made. And I have to say, even though he wasn't able to finish running that marathon, seeing him give his all and try to do so got me more pumped than almost every fight scene in every other anime. Mob Psycho 100 is all about character development. Villains get their development too, as they get to learn more about them and how they aren't that bad, and Reagan, his employer, might be a fraud, but he's just about the most enjoyable character ever, and he gets his fair share of growth too. By the end of this series, Mob isn't any stronger than he was at the start, but he has friends. He has a place to belong. He is proof of the greatest character development and what makes him truly overpowered, his willingness and desire to improve himself. Mob Psycho 100 is easily one of my favorite anime ever. And Mob and Reagan are both up there for my personal favorite anime characters, as Mob Psycho 100 brings us one step closer to finding the perfect anime. Hey, thanks for watching. I really enjoyed making this video even though I haven't made something like this before. Let me know what you think and if I should make more videos essay style, and if I do, I'm gonna make sure I make the videos fun just like my normal videos too. And if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to sub mob for more psychos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.